Hi everyone! Today on DoodleDrawArt, I'm going to show you how to paint this realistic looking maple leaf. And what you're going to do is we're going to use the maple leaf that we did in my previous video that shows you how to draw your own maple leaf that you can cut out. And if you've drawn it already, that's great. Or if you want to go over to DoodleDrawArt.com, you can download something that you could print and cut out yourself. So anyway, we're going to start off with a pre-made maple leaf. So check that out. And then we're going to use our watercolors. And I've got my just regular children's watercolor set here, nothing expensive. I think it was $6. And I've got orange and yellow, this yellow here, that I have pre-moistened. And I've also got some kitchen salt. So that's going to be my secret ingredient today. So what we're going to do first is we're just going to quickly trace this maple leaf onto the sheet. Now, I'm going to trace mine fairly darkly so that everyone can see, but you would maybe want to use fainter lines than this. So this would be a really great way to make a Thanksgiving card. You could make an invitation to come to your Thanksgiving dinner, or you could use it for making leaves to decorate your centerpiece, all kinds of great things. You could use it to make leaves for a garland to decorate your house. You can let me know what you have decided to do with your leaves. But this painting technique I'm going to show you is going to make a very realistic looking leaf. As realistic as anything you'll do by hand. So as I said before, I teach you how to draw this leaf in a previous video. I'll put a little annotation here in the video, and if you're watching on some kind of, I don't know, tablet or something without annotations, you can check the video description because I'll put a link there too. And that will take you over to my other video to help you make your own leaves. Or if you go to DoodleDrawArt.com, you can get the printable. Okay, so there's a really dark version of this leaf. I would prefer if it wasn't so dark, but you can do it more gently yourself. All right, so good, we're all in frame here. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna take my brush and some water, and I'm gonna fill in this entire area and make it wet. So I'm wetting the whole area, and I'm going right into the corners of all of the sections of the leaf here, being careful not to go outside the lines. So essentially right now just painting with water, getting my whole entire paper wet. So there I am filling it in. You probably can't see this because it is water. So I'll do this in time lapse, but essentially I'm just filling in the entire area. Alright, so I have the whole area colored in with water here, and I'm just going to tip it around here a bit so you can possibly see that it's all shiny and I've stayed inside the lines. And I am working with watercolor paper, and that's sort of important because when you get paper this wet, it will wrinkle if you don't use watercolor paper. But I'm using inexpensive 90-pound watercolor paper. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to work with this orange color here, and I'm just going to put some of it on a working palette. So I'm just going to put orange color here on my tray without making a mess. Orange color on my tray, and get some water in it too so it's nice and diluted. And then I'll clean off my brush. I've just got some paper towel over here. Give it a little brush clean off, and do the same thing with yellow. So I'm just going to put some yellow up here in my tray. So I'm working with runny paint. Okay, so I've got runny orange and runny yellow here on my palette. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to start off with my orange, and I'm just going to get my brush wet with paint, and I'm going to just blop it here and there on my wet leaf, and I'm going to then spread it around. But for now I'm just getting it on, and now I'm going to work it into these corners that I've got wet. So just making sure that I get paint going in all of these areas. My leaf's going to be mostly orange with some yellow. So I'm just blobbing the orange, and I really do like it when it's uneven. Some darker, deeper pigment and other areas of lighter pigment. But I'm just going to fill in, and you see how the wet paper just really makes my my colors bleed around. It doesn't keep it all where I place it. It kind of runs around, but it won't run on the dry paper. It only runs where I've wet it, which is the reason why I did that in the first place. So here I am, I'm doing mostly orange around the edges. I'm going to be using yellow, but I want the orange to kind of give my leaf some edge dimension. When I did my first leaf, the one that I showed you at the beginning, I used more yellow around the edges, and then I found I had to go back in later and paint in some orange because the yellow was so pale you couldn't really see the defined edges of my leaf. So with this one, I'm making sure to get orange in most of these edge areas so that it will contrast against my white paper. And you really have about 10 minutes to work this while your background paper is still wet. So if you can get this all done in 10 minutes, that's great. And you know, it doesn't take 10 minutes, it takes less time than that. Just don't be pokey, I guess is what I'm saying. So there's enough orange. So now I'm going to take yellow and I'm just going to blob it in and fill in these areas where I have no color yet. And it's going to just sort of spread itself around quite a bit. And it will meet up and blend with the orange. You can give it some help if your paper's getting dry. I've got bright lights here, so it's drying out a little bit faster than it did earlier for me when I was working in my dimly lit kitchen. All right, so here you see then I've got nice blended mottled orange and yellow colors. And now is my time for my secret ingredient. While my paint is still wet, I'm going to use kitchen salt, and I'm going to sprinkle it all over my entire maple leaf. So what this is going to do is it's going to cause a textured effect. So if you look at my previous leaf, I didn't use as much orange on this one, but you can see that it gives a mottled effect. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to let this dry. And when it's completely dry, I'm going to brush the salt off, and you will see the pattern that the salt has created. And then we'll come back in and we'll add a vein into our leaf as well with just a thin brush and some brownish paint. So I'll pause here and let this finish drying, and then we'll continue. All right, so I went and had some dinner and I let this dry, and it's dry now. So what you're going to do is you're just going to rub the salt off the work and just blow it away. And once you do, you're going to see that it creates a really interesting texture in the leaves. So I'm just going to pull this up a bit closer so that you can see the really interesting sort of, I don't know how to describe it even. It's almost like tie-dye, but it gives the colors their own sort of variation of dark and light. So now that my work is dry, I'm going to be able to paint on the veins. And this isn't going to take long at all. So I'm just going to do basically the same thing, which is just get some paint set up. So I'm going to choose a color for the veins, and I'm just going to work with this in between brown and orange kind of color. And I want it to be fairly soupy. So I'm just going to place it here on my little tray. I had chicken for supper. It was delicious. I'm sorry if you're a vegetarian, but I do like to eat chicken. Okay, so I've got some nice wet brownish color here, and I'm just going to float these veins on. So what I'm going to do is always start down and work up. So starting down here, I'm just going to paint this one going up, and then starting here, paint it going up, starting in the middle again, paint it going up. I'll do one in here, a nice long one out toward the end, another nice long one out toward the end. And now if you watched the video where I show you how to draw these leaves, you'd see that there's a couple of short veins up here like this, and a couple of similar types of short veins just right here. And then there's also some that come down in towards the corners. So I'm just going to pull those ones down this way. And then I can draw in some really tiny veins as well. So just some little tiny ones that are going to come in little V shapes at the ends of what I've already painted. So that was really fun and super easy. And like I said, this would be great for decorating. You could use it for making like centerpieces. You could draw a few of these and paint them and put them underneath your candle on the table, or you could use this as a beautiful invitation to Thanksgiving dinner, or you could write a thank you note for someone, tell them that you're thankful for them. And I am thankful for all of my DoodleDrawArt fans who religiously come and check out my new videos. It's been over a year now, and my fan base is growing all the time, and you guys make me super happy. So thank you so much for watching today, and I would love it if you would comment on the video below, and if you liked it, click like, and if you would like to subscribe, of course, I would like that too. So happy Thanksgiving, and please check out my next video airing soon. Thanks for watching.